Hi, Professor Croft. I hope that you are doing okay. This is Natalie Carrasco, and I'm going to be presenting my final project presentation that we had to do for the last week of the class. I just want to say too that I have enjoyed taking the class so far. I feel like I've learned a lot of useful information. I feel like all the materials in the textbook was very informative and very helpful to increase my knowledge in cybersecurity and help me get a better understanding. I thought the labs were helpful too. I enjoyed doing those because getting to type and work on the terminal made me a little more comfortable with it. So when I was looking for a topic to choose to do the project presentation over, I thought that the keyloggers were really interesting, just because I feel like me personally, I haven't ever really heard of keyloggers before. I wasn't really aware how they work. So I'll be talking about keyloggers because I feel like they're a very silent threat and one that can happen to somebody very easily. So I'll talk about, what are keyloggers, how do they work, what are the types of keyloggers, what are some real world examples of keyloggers, what are the like signs that you can look out for to make sure that you are, not being a victim to a keylogger, and how to just be aware and protect yourself. So let's get into the project presentation. So, what is a keylogger? The basic definition of a keylogger is that it is a type of like tool that will record every single key that you press on your keyboard while you're sitting here typing and doing things on your computer. Um, Basically, it's a type of like surveillance and monitoring software that a lot of hackers and cyber criminals use. Um, to spy on you, get access to your information, see what you're typing, things like that. There can be some instances and examples where the use of a keylogger can be legal, which I will talk about in a later slide. But most of the time, they're used in a malicious and harmful way. They're not intended for anything good by any means. A lot of cyber criminals will use them to get access to your information and to see what you're typing on your keyboard in real time. So how does a keylogger work? The basic of it is that the keylogger will capture every single keystroke that you type on your keyboard. Once the keylogger has your information of what you had just typed, the data will be stored and sent to the hacker, and then they have all your information. I included this little graphic at the bottom just to kind of give a basic example. You're typing, you're working on your computer. The keylogger is capturing everything that you're typing in real time. The keylogger sends the data to the hacker, and they have access to all your information that you just typed. Types of keyloggers. So when it comes to keyloggers, you're going to have two different types. You're going to have your software keyloggers and your hardware keyloggers. So your hardware keyloggers are obviously going to be like your physical devices that can often be plugged in, like on your keyboard and between your computer and your monitor and things like that. Some examples of some real life hardware keyloggers is going to be your inline keyloggers. These are often inserted into the connection between like your keyboard and your monitor. Wireless keyloggers. I actually work with the wireless keyboard on my PC personally. These can be really tricky just because they capture the signals from like your wireless keyboard. Um, and they're hard to spot, just like your embedded keyloggers are a little bit hard to spot too, because these can be installed like directly onto your keyboard. Oftentimes they're hidden into like the circuitry of your keyboard, so you won't know you have one unless you like inspect it. If you maybe bought it from somebody shady or you're not sure, you would have to literally like tear apart your keyboard and check the circuitry and just see. So that kind of gives you an insight of why keyloggers can be so dangerous too. Your software keyloggers, these are obviously dangerous too. These are basically software programs that run on your operating system to capture your keystrokes in real time. API keyloggers, these are the type of keyloggers that work by targeting and using your system's application programming interfaces to capture your keystrokes while they're being sent from your keyboard to your computer in real time. Form grabbing keyloggers, these are often used on like websites and web pages where you type in sensitive information like credit and debit card information and your login information to websites. Kernel keyloggers, these are really powerful just because they take advantage of your like kernel of your operating system, and they can get access to a lot of your data that is input into your computer. A lot of times keyloggers can be downloaded on accident and you don't even really realize it from like phishing emails and things like that, so they can be pretty dangerous. When we're talking about keyloggers, I feel like it's important to have some real world examples of keyloggers just to show how dangerous they are and how they work. By far, the two like most famous and popular, for lack of a better word, keylogging incidents that happened when I was looking up and doing my research was the Zeus Trojan and the Olympic Vision. So the Zeus is one of the most famous ones that kept popping up. It was basically built to capture keystrokes from certain websites. So a lot of times it was used by like hackers for them to get access to people's like banking information. So a lot of banking websites, the Zeus was used to steal online banking information. A person, might not realize it, and they're typing in their information, and then boom, the hacker has, access to your bank information. So that's not good. The Olympic Vision keylogger was really interesting to me because the way that it was done was really interesting. It was basically used in like a business email sort of campaign, and it seemed to really only target two countries, which is the United States and Asia. Phishing emails would be sent out to like employees at various business companies, and they seemed like they were legit business offers. Once an employee clicked on their email, their account would be hacked, and financial transactions would be done without the employee's permission by cyber criminals. Excuse me. So yeah, that was a really interesting one to me. So like I said before, there are some legal uses of keyloggers. Employee monitoring at certain businesses is a good example. As long as your employer gives you notice, it's legal in most cases. Employers sometimes like to monitor employee devices to prevent like data issues from happening, to investigate certain instances if they happen, and just kind of keep an eye, which I was aware that most companies can do that, but I didn't realize that they use keyloggers to do that. Obviously, parental controls, that's going to be another kind of legal example of keyloggers being used in a legal way. Parents, they want to protect their kids, monitor what they do on the internet, see what they're doing, how their usage is on the internet, and things like that to protect them from harm. I know that the Nintendo Switch has like some parental controls that parents can use to like monitor and keep an eye on their kids and what they're doing on the Switch. So that's like an example that comes to my mind. IT support, obviously that can be legal sometimes because that can be part of like the troubleshooting process and things like that. So that's another legal use. Obviously, you can detect your keyloggers. You can detect them. You need to look out for signs like, a lag and delay when you're typing. Your computer is like operating in weird ways or things like that. Your apps crash unexpectedly. You have slow performance of your computer. You have unusual like disk usage and stuff like that. And obviously, if your antivirus starts going off and popping up a lot of alerts, I feel like that can be a sign that you need to watch out for too. Also, if your mouse or your cursor is kind of acting in weird ways, that can be a sign too. I actually remember my dad many years ago, he got hacked on our family computer, and I remember we could sit there, and once he realized we were hacked, it was too late, and we could literally see the hacker like moving the mouse, clicking on certain things, trying to get into things, and it was really like weird to see. So that is an example of some red flags that you can detect and see. Obviously, you have to, take steps and be proactive to protect yourself against keyloggers. Always ensure that you're using strong anti-malware software. Firewalls can be really helpful as well. Keep your operating system and your computer up to date. Try to be cautious of phishing attempts and just watch your emails. Never click on any weird downloads or anything. Trust your gut. If an email seems weird, it probably is. Using a password manager can really help too, and also that two-factor authentication method. For example, like we use the Duo, on campus and everything. That just gives that extra layer of protection for hackers to not, get access to you by using keyloggers. So some takeaways and conclusions from my presentation. Keyloggers are very powerful and they can be very hard to detect. They are designed that way on purpose. They're designed to be stealthy so that cyber criminals and hackers can easily get your information without you being aware. They're often used for legitimate legal reasons, but keyloggers can, most of the time be used for illegal reasons as well. They're not intended to be anything good, like I said in the beginning, so you need to be cautious. Just make sure you're staying informed and being aware of how to protect yourself against keyloggers and look for the signs is critical. I also believe, just as a personal note, that as computer science professionals, it's important for us to stay aware and practice safe practices. to prevent ourselves from being a victim from things like keyloggers. And so, yeah, just staying safe is always good. Thank you again, Professor Croft, and I hope my presentation was informational. I appreciate you watching the video. Thank you. Bye-bye.